Hello, and thank you for joining us on the Stay Healthy San Diego podcast, brought to you by Parker Physio, aimed at helping you live an enjoyable, fit, and healthy life in and around our community. And now, introducing your host and author of Aging Smarter, Dr. Matt Parker.
Hello, welcome everyone today. This is your host again, like the intro said, Dr. Matt Parker. I have a wonderful guest in here, Mr. Rick Noda. I want to describe some of the things that he does and just want to read off some of his titles. Rick Noda, fitness coach, nurse, elite triathlete, Marine, retired alcoholic, dad, friend, brother. Out of all those things, Rick, what do you think's your favorite of those titles?
Wow, when you talk about all that, you've got to lead with the dad. I mean, what I say is the highest compliment is be able to procreate, to have little mini me's. And my daughters are literally the epitome of my compliment. So I have to say, we'll start with dad, then we'll go Marine, then we'll say elite triathlete, and let's say those top three.
You ranked them. Nice.
I ranked
them. So Rick, I always like when I have guests on here, I like to start from the top. I love hearing about people's stories. I want to hear your story. I know you grew up in Chicago. We've been friends for a little bit, but tell us about that and tell us, from the beginning.
Well, Doc, it's kind of cool because, when I talk about my journey, my life, my story, especially to younger people, it's kind of funny because it actually starts when I was a kid. I was a kid born in the 70s, and during the 70s, freedom and love and all that goes and how it is. My parents were Cuban immigrants, survivor mentality, literally came with the clothes on their back. And in my home, you didn't speak Spanish because you didn't want to talk like these. So they wanted to make sure that as a first generation American, that I had a very good, use of language. They didn't count on me being ADHD and dyslexic, so that has a tendency to control a little ebonics and not be the greatest student. So what was happening to me is through kindergarten, first, second, and third grade, I was always that kid that was funny in class, would make people laugh, class clown and stuff like that, which was really my disguise or my wall because I didn't know how to read. I would basically, and that's what you gotta love, Chicago ranked probably 100 out of 100 when it comes to schools. They just kept passing me through. But right around when I was 5 years old, the counselor brought me in and they started to diagnose my ADHD, my dyslexia, and they recommended to my mom. My mom was a young mom, so when I walked in, they thought she was my sister. That's how young she looked, and that's how young she really is. I'm just for everybody to do the math. I'm 48, and my mom just turned 64.
Okay.
So you can just do the math. Yeah. It's kind of right there.
Gotcha.
So when my sister or my mom walked in, all right, they asked me or asked my mother to put me on Ritalin. My mom, again, was at first was a little naive, said, sure, if you guys can hear my voice and how much energy comes over the microphone, I'm 48 years old. It's a lot less because it used to be like this. Imagine me when I was 5. It was just an nuclear explosion. Then you gave me the meds and I was literally like this.
Wow.
And my mom goes, where did my son go?
No
more. And it was like, that craziness that was there. So back then, using the Dewey Decimal System, literally going to the library, my mom looked up books that would allow and say, hey, what's been going on? ADHD is not just something that just happened to show up in the 70s. It's been around forever. So going to the library, and I remember because I went with her. Yeah, I'd go to the library, she'd do this, and the minute we left the library, we'd probably execute or try something new. We started with diet because everything that it said was about sugar. So the thing about me is I was never that kid that had sugary sodas at the house or eating candy because I just couldn't. Mm-hmm. It's just one of those things that railed me up. But she couldn't control me when I went to school. So when I went to school, sure enough, I'd load up. I'd be your friend just to get your candy, no lie. So I was able to kind of help. She couldn't help that part of it. So I'd come home full of this sugar energy, and the first thing she did is she became a drill instructor. She was like, "Okay, you got way too much energy to do your homework. Let's do this. Let's have you do some push-ups, jumping jacks." My mom has zero athleticism, you guys. All she knew how to do was push-ups and jumping jacks. So literally, that's what would help. So I would do X amount of jumping jacks or whatever, and then we would try to study or we would color. My mom would also use, and this is no joke, this is where we found out how the nervous system works and how music was so important. She would take a record, and we'd go, twist and shout, and we'd put our socks on and we would dance.
How old are you again?
I'm about, 48. I'm about 48 years
this
old.
Record player you speak
That's a record,
yeah,
exactly.
So
That's where it is. I mean, even the fact my mom was lucky, because that was one of her things, is that she had all these these big records, these small records and things like that. And I was introduced to music, but in a therapeutic way. So as we continue to start to do this, or meaning start to use therapy, I start to sleep better. I start to, really do better in school, meaning I can actually spend, an entire day not being in the principal's office. I can actually start to grasp the concept of education. But to be quite honest with you, at 5 years old, I really didn't care about education, because in my mind, I was going to be a professional athlete. That is because I excelled in all that stuff. So as I start to progress, my learning disability didn't come to full force until I hit about 6th and 7th grade, where I love it. She's no longer with us. Mrs. McCracken asked me to read, and I had about a 1st grade reading level in 7th grade. So not only was I, at the time, I was playing Pop Warner football, tackle football. I was really being athletic. I was being at the park every day, playing basketball, doing things like that. I was also the bully killer, meaning because I was in a class of special eds with kids who had helmets at the time, things like that. So kids were being made fun of, and I was trailing them, or I was in the front. They didn't think I was with that group. And sure enough, I go, "What'd you say to Billy?" And unfortunately, using violence, I would go ahead and fix that situation. So I was really the original bully, bully stopper, when that happened. But what was cool was, as I athletically, I'm about, in 7th grade, I'm playing football, and I told Miss McCracken, I ain't got to read. I want to play in the NFL. I want to I'll be a pro basketball player. Literally, that's what I would tell her. She's like, "Rick," she did something to me that was super important. She said, "In order for you to put the ball in the basket, you have to know the trajectory of the angles necessary to put that in there." ADD, very good teacher. So when you start to go, then I learned why a 90-degree angle is important. Then I started to learn aspects that most people don't know, that in a basketball cylinder, you can actually drop 2 basketballs in at the same time and they'll fall in. It all depends on how the arc is. So it's real. I started to really get better at the game, not because I was just hitting my head against the ground, in which ADHD kids do, especially if you're hyper. I started to go internal, and I started to become more of a student, and it was a student of the game. Now, here's the hard part. During that time, my brain never stopped. It's literally nonstop. Those who've ever watched the movie Limitless, that's my brain. I can literally just create scenarios and things like that in a very quick way. And at times, I can use what I used to call my powers for good or for powers for bad, but I can never shut them off. So imagine me in 7th grade with my cousin Danny. We're at a Christmas party and everyone's hanging around, and my parents are like, "Look at how good my kid is. He's picking up and cleaning up after all of us." Actually, I was picking up the drinks, taking the cigarettes out of it, and slamming tequila and vodka, because I was literally getting drunk so that I found that was the only way to stop my brain. So I'm about 7 years old. And really started drinking for the first time. Holy cow. Yeah. So as I'm starting, but it was great, because me and my cousin, who's more on the, like myself, a little on the bipolar side, we figured out, yeah, you drink enough, you pass out, the brain stops working. So him and I were great partners in crime, because as we started to evolve, we found ways to get into the liquor cabinet. We got into ways to do that. Now, unfortunately, during that time too, I was introduced to marijuana. I was introduced to acid. So I was introduced to a lot of drugs that at one time I thought would stop my brain. And that's where a lot of kids, and I still help with my kids now, stop with that self-medicating. That self-medicating is so bad, because it just lets a whole bunch of side effects go. So let's say I'm 7 years old. I start drinking. I start doing that. I'm playing football. Miss McCracken diagnoses that I can't read all that well. She puts me on the right track. I accelerate very quickly, because now I really want to read. And whenever I feel like doing something, Doc, and I tell anyone that has ADD or ADHD, it's not if, it's when you figure out it's important to you. All right. I don't ever try to convince anybody like, "Hey, you know what? This is this." But once you get it, you'll get it.
When was that moment for you?
That moment for me, is being called a dumbass. That moment when I was sitting there, and it wasn't even in the classroom. It was a dumbass on the football field. And that being called a dumbass by my coach hurt. And that is 2 things that I will kick your ass about, in a funny way. Because number one, I feel that being called a dumbass means you just didn't work. I mean, you just didn't care. You just said F this and F that. So to me, that was really early. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I was about 10 years old. I was 10 years old playing elite football, traveling around. My mom's driving me around the city of Chicago, going to these different football events. And one of my coaches called me a dumbass, and he was right. Because I wasn't practicing my routes. Didn't know my assignments. I thought that a drunken kid at 10 years old, he must have smelled me being half in the bag too, because I was still, I drink intermittently from there. I wasn't practicing. I wasn't trying to get better. So as I start to then get a little bit worse, meaning I drink a little bit more. Now it's like I'm getting into 8th and 9th grade. Alcohol is getting a little bit easier to acquire, because now, I know where to find it. I know where my parents are also Latino. In a really nice way, they never tabooed alcohol for me, because they knew that if anything that they tabooed to me, I'm going to want it more. Just like sugar. They learned that with sugar. Don't give a kid sugar and he's going to go right after it. So what they had is a very good relationship with alcohol in my house. So by the time I was an 8th grader and a freshman, if you'd come over to my house, Doc, and you were going to sleep over, my mom would say, hey, I know what you guys, I know what it is, but if you guys want to have a beer to relax, you can have a beer. So it was kind of one of those things where my friends always wanted to come to my house. Yeah. Awesome. It made it a cool house to go. It was nice for me because I didn't have to hide so much my drinking sometimes. I could literally come home from my freshman year in a football practice and really crack a beer. And what the beer did was calm my brain down. Wasn't the great parenting. I use a statement, sometimes in stress you parent the way you're parented, but you parent now the way you wish you were parented. My kids don't have that relationship with alcohol. I didn't take that forward because it did perpetuate and kind of allow me to drink even more at times,
How do you escape that? Like, so now you're drinking, you're like early in high school, like what happens next?
Well, you don't escape it. It just gets worse. It actually, you start to get in police problems. You start to have anger issues. You start to use that, finding out that a depressant, which is alcohol, is the wrong drug. It's, acid and shrooms don't help either, So you start to get more violent and more non-tolerant of those around you. So as I started to go in my freshman and my sophomore year, I would get into just as equal amounts of fights over nothing. Just looking at me wrong, whatever. The ego was just walking around because
fighting a fight.
Fighting a fight, exactly, finding it. I would ambiate, just aggression. So, but the good part is I was being commended for that on the football field. As a gladiator, there was nobody, like I would say, that would just go find the biggest guy and hit him. That was me. And if you guys, right now at 48, I'm 160 pounds. In high school, I was 135 pounds, soaking wet, literally, and just putting, a hurt locker on guys because I had been playing football since I was 7, But as the anger gets going, the fear gets going, you've got a father who is a survivor. Remember, my parents came from Cuba with nothing on their back. So I have huge amounts of responsibility to do chores. I have huge amount of responsibilities to get a job. Huge amounts of responsibility, which I love because when you have ADD and ADHD, you thrive on responsibility. You need to have a sense of purpose. If not, you're doing more coke, you're doing more drugs because you're bored. And you do. So for me, that really helped me. But what that responsibility and all of that started to do was really stress you out a little bit. So you start to work out less, drink more, train less, drink more. And if you don't have someone to guide you, and it was hard, good and bad, because my parents literally went and they were working. So if they're working all the time, I was a latchkey kid. I'd come in, do what I had to do. I'm in high school. My friends would come by, we would do whatever. And as we started to drink by, freshman, sophomore year, it got pretty bad. So what do? My parents think I'm bad enough. They send me to Mexico to be an exchange student. So my junior year, I go to the District Federal de DF de Mexico para be an exchange student.
Wow.
So they said, you know what, this kid's crazy. Let's put him in another country. This is where I knew I was a Marine, destined to be a Marine. Because the Marines have a saying. They go, a Marine makes his area conducive and successful for him. So I literally now go to a country that doesn't ask me for a drinking age. You can drink as long as you walk up there. They're a little bit more responsible. My cousins and my people that have allowed me to go live with them, the exchange family that I call my cousins because, you live with someone, eventually you consider kinship with them.
Gotcha. The primos.
Yeah, the primos. You go over there, I learned a different class of family. You know, they didn't yell as much. There was their focus, go to school, which was just nice. All right. But I got bored. So as I got bored, you know, I drank a little bit more. My schools, I found out there that in Mexico, currency can get you through school. So I literally paid my way through school, barely went to school, basically had American dollars. Here I go, got A's. Most of the time, I was teaching English, Ebonic English to everybody. And my junior year was more of an experience. I ended up having to leave Mexico because of the smog. I actually got sick because the DF back then was just the cars with the diesel. Literally, you could see a smog. Pretty bad. Yeah. So it doesn't help that I was also smoking cigarettes and doing stupid stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I come back to the States my junior year. You know, basically I had finished my first semester of my junior year. I come back the second semester. Now I leave the college preparatory school, Loyola Academy in Wilmette, where I was on the Father O'Shaughnessy program to play football. You know, and that was a program for special ed kids, and they brought us Latinos in from the city to a suburban school. So we were those guys, you know, affirmative action back then. And I go to a public school. Oh my God, Doc, can I tell you? Yippee-ki-yay. You want to talk about addiction? You want to talk about Friday Night Lights? I was in my heaven.
Senior year.
So my junior to senior year, I had one thing that I was very smart at, and which was cool, is that because I was a learning disability kid, I was always used to doing summer school or doing stuff ever. So entering my freshman year, I went to summer school, knocked 2 of the hardest classes out, and did that pretty much every year. Even leaving to Mexico, I went to summer school before I left to go to Mexico. So my second semester and my senior year, I didn't even have to go to school. I literally had the amount of credits necessary, could have graduated. So I literally went to school for the social aspect and to play football. So you want to talk about parties and drinking and womenizing and all that? I literally had the best Friday Night Lights life you could ever think. My entire thing was to go to school and play football. And it was nice because my high school experience went crazy cool. I went to a bunch of proms, homecoming things were nice. And I was one of those kids that socially floated through all the groups, because that was my personality. So I was with the jocks, I was with the band people, and I'm going to all these parties, to the metalhead guys, and it was really a cool diversity of groups. But it all perpetuated what I wanted to do, was drink more beer, drink more booze, and smoke more weed, and just really try to be the life of the party. Like, Rick's gonna entertain you every fucking, time. Excuse for the F-bomb. But that is literally what I've now called the court jester years. As a kid, I was a court jester. And I literally would come in and entertain and light the room up. So that part of me was perpetuated and fueled by alcohol and the inability to shut my brain down.
So how do you escape?
The escape. Here, the escape is actually not escape. It's effing dealing with it. So I sat down and finish high school. My father, during that time, and my entire time in Chicago, is one of the deadliest cities to live in. And as a Latino male, he would tell me and my cousin all the time, tick tock, tick tock. Are you going to be in jail, or are you going, or literally you going to die? What are the two you're going to choose? Because that's the life expectancy of a Latino male in Chicago. And I said, you know what? That's not going to be me. I'm going to play in the pros. I'm going to be an NFL star. That's not going to be me. Well, you get a 7 on your ACT, not getting, Illinois State, Michigan isn't calling you, all right? You're a good player, but you're not a Division I player, or you're a blue chip player. Because why? You're half drunk half the time. You're playing great for a drunk kid. You're not, even though I'm hitting the gym, I'm not hitting it like kids are drinking supplements and their parents are sending them to private coaching and stuff like that. I'm a good ball player, but I'm never going to make the pros because I didn't get some of the community, their accountability. So as I transition, I come to the summation that I got to get out of there. So as soon as I graduate high school, I leave Chicago and go live in Miami, because me and my cousin goes, nada que vamos a hacer is we're going to live that high life in Miami, do whatever. So I had an uncle who lived in Kendall, and I told my old man, I said, hey, do you think Antonio will have me come in and I'll spend a little time there? He goes, not a problem. He goes, I had, it's funny because when I went there, my cousin, Tony, they have Anthony and Tony, which they basically had no originality. They just named their kid after themselves. All right. So it makes it hard in a story with no video to tell it. All right. So Tony Jr., all right. I arrive. I graduate high school. I drive my car from Chicago. It's a 24-hour trip. Tony Jr. tells me, man, it is almost impossible here to Florida to get a job. I've been trying to find a job for the last 4 or 5 months. Now, Tony is the complete opposite of me. He is going to college. He's got his whole life plan to get his doctorate in whatever he wants to do. He's really boring on top of it. When I used to go there in the summers, I would tell my mom, don't send me to those people's house. It just sucks. So as I get there, I'm not there for more than 3 days and I get a job. So I arrive to sell perfume on the street. That's what my job is. So I'm a hustler like you won't believe. I'm sitting there. Literally, it's not knockoff perfume or colognes, because I learned and educated myself that you can only patent the bottle and the packaging. So all the fragrances, I hate to be a myth buster like in our other videos, Doc, that the actual perfume that you guys all buy can literally be sold to you in a clear plastic bottle. You're literally paying $135 for the packaging.
Yikes.
Nice. So I was sitting there being successful, doing all this stuff, selling perfume to the point where my aunt is very racist. All right, she is an extremely racist person, and as a Cuban, it's find it hard because we could be as light. If those you don't know, I'm really light Cuban, but you could be very dark Cuban, very dark complected. So I would come home from working in some of the ghetto neighborhoods of Miami, Liberty City, Opalaca, Overtown, and things like that. She would literally disinfect me. Like she would sit there and take, before Clorox swap, she would put some bleach on it and literally try to rub the black off me. It was pretty bad.
Yikes.
Yeah, so I'm not that guy. I believe being a better human, bleed red. This is even before I was a Marine. So I'm and my cousin is a dark Dominican. So my cousin looks black. So imagine me bringing my cousin to the house, and all of my friends are dark Dominican. She's literally wiping everything down. So I literally say, oh yeah, I'm gone. So I lived there for about 3 weeks, max. And I go move in with my buddies, living on their couch. So nobody but my buddies. I'm living on the couch. I've got a car. I'm selling perfume on the street. I'm kicking it. Guy goes to me, goes, hey, Rick. The guy that works with Satron Creations goes, hey, you want to go to Orlando? I mean, I hear it's killing it. We'll go to Disney. You had me at Orlando. Wham! So I go to Orlando, leave my cousin Danny, who had a job at MIA as a Miami International Airport, doing baggage handling. Yep. So I go to Orlando. I'm now a regional sales manager, whatever that means. I'm selling perfume on the street. I'm dropping 20 or 30 bottles a day. Where am I doing that? At night in strip clubs. So literally, Doc, I'm walking into strip clubs and using my brain for good, saying, hey, tell the strippers, go buy these, go outside, tell this guy to buy this. And literally, I'm selling 20, 30 bottles at $20 a pop. I'm making $300 or $400 a night in cash, selling perfume, legit. I'm not selling drugs. I'm thinking I'm living life. I'm bringing new people in. I'm having I'm 18 years old, making that type of money, driving a brand new 1989 Honda CRX, with rims, kicking stereo, and I'm life can't be better. Those who don't now know Fast and Furious, I was one of the original joking around Fast and Furious, because me and this Mr. 2 are literally going on A1A in Lauderdale, and we're going from one left side. We're going from the left lane, swoop it all the way to the right lane, to the shoulder, and literally weaving in and out of traffic. And we go weave 1, weave 2, weave 3. I have a pregnant lady in my car, and we crashed at about 35 miles an hour. I hit a Ford Fairlane. That Ford Fairlane, nothing's wrong with it. I've got $1,000 in my pocket. I literally get out of the car, go look at my car. The front hood of my car is pushed up completely. I can't even see out the dash. It's cracked. The engine is there. Fluids are falling out. I go to the guy as quickly as I'm talking right now. I go, dude, I got $1,000. Your car isn't hit. Here you go. And I pull away. I don't even give him the ability to acknowledge what just happened, because I don't have any insurance. I'm driving on a suspended license, and the car luckily was paid for. So I literally pull that car over to the side, pull the tags, and leave that car right there. Call my dad. Can you come get me?
Holy shit.
He goes to me, goes, okay, vamos. As he flies in, we go to see if I can find my car, if my car was there, if it was. Luckily, quick enough. It wasn't towed. It was still there. My dad has a way where there's a service that I didn't know about where you can actually drive a car from Florida to Chicago. Someone pays you to do it. So we found the service. He used to do it before. We get the service. We illegally attach a hitch to it because you're not supposed to do that to tow my car across country. Now, we pick up the car. We're towing cross country. When I say dead silence for 3 states.
Sounds pretty awful.
It does, but it was what I needed because when he broke the silence, he said this. And my cousin was with me because, he was like, he ran out of money. He lost his job. He's doing too much drugs. They fired him, and he was going back to Chicago. Like, if Rick's going back, I ain't got nothing here. So, let's go. My dad breaks the silence and says, I don't care what you MFs do, but you got 2 weeks to get out of my house. And Danny didn't live with me, so his mom was like, whatever, you could just stay, whatever. But I had 2 weeks, all right? So during that 2 weeks, my dad is one thing, he holds you accountable for what he's saying. Like, straight up, he would have just, week 2, would have thrown my bags outside, goes, get out. Like, I don't care where you go live, you don't got a car, just do it. So that's because he came from Cuba, same way. So he's not going to, hold back on that. So I literally go to interview all the armed services. Because he does say, why don't you try the military? And I'm like, you're whatever. I didn't even think about it, Can't make all this up. Air Force guy is never there. So I can never get to see the Air Force guy. I literally go into the Navy and the guy is sitting in his chair, leaned back and has a coffee cup on his belly. And when I walk in, he kind of almost spills it. I can't make that up. I'm like, no, dude, not even close. I go to the Army and the Army guy is like, step right up. I can get you out of here. Whatever you want, whatever you need. What are you going to step right up? Let's go. And I'm like, dude, I'm freaking ADD and you're scaring me. Like, no, I have things to do. Even though I'm 18, I can't just go. I walk into the Marine Corps. Guy's pretty chiseled. Guy's pretty whatever. Guy goes, what are you looking to do? I go, I'm looking to get paid. Okay. He goes, what? I'm looking to get paid. Whatever one of you fools pay the most, that's where I'm going to. He goes, well, in Marine Corps, we don't pay well. We're just the best of the best. I go, I like that. And he goes, let's even see if you are a Marine. And he goes, what? And guess what he does? The first thing he does is give me an educational test. So he gives me a test, not a pull-ups, not push-ups, not that. Most people think, oh yeah, you make you do pull-ups. Wrong answer. They don't want rocks. The Marine Corps wants intelligent operators. They want individuals who can think on the fly. So I take it, me and my cousin, he's with me, we take the test. We come back out. He goes to my cousin Danny, he goes, thank you so much for coming. And literally throws the thing in his face in the garbage. All right? And goes to you, so Rick, what do you want to do? And I go, I did good on the test. He goes, oh, you did okay. All right. Well, he didn't tell me that I saw him, after I go get ready, I scored through the roof. I scored, and it was thanks to Miss McCracken. My reading level had increased. I was, still kind of had some common sense and stuff. So I was very good at mechanical stuff, very good at comprehension, interpretation, adaptability. Suck at mechanical stuff still today. I can't put the wrong peg in the hole because I'm dyslexic. Mm-hmm. But all the other stuff I was excellent at. So I go to him, I go, you know what I really want to do? I want to be a chef because I love cooking. I love doing that stuff. He goes, you want to be a cook? I go, no, not a cook. I want to be a chef. I want to, pastry chef, whatever that is. He goes, we have those in the Marine Corps. That's not a problem. He goes, now see how many pull-ups you could do. And I pop out 20 pull-ups. And then I do 50 push-ups. And just picture me, you guys. I am wearing in 1980, 90 to 91. All right.
Baggy t-shirt.
Baggy shorts. Pants are backwards. Crisscross like. I'm wearing True Colors.
Gotcha.
All that stuff before. Right as that happens, as I start to talk to him and I'm in this baggy clothes and I do all this stuff, he goes, why don't you just do me a favor, take this test, go, we'll take the ASVAB and see what you could do. And if you want to be a chef, we could be a chef. Well, fast forward to me about ready to leave. And, so I'm signed up for the Marine Corps. I'm ready to go to boot camp. Everything's going. And I think I'm a chef. Up until this point, I think I signed up for a chef. I think I'm whatever. So when I go to boot camp, they ask you on your first day, who's here guaranteed contract? And I raise my hand. Because one of the things they try to do in boot camp is kind of mess with you on those things. All right? Because they want all infantrymen. So the nice thing they want to do is anyone that's guaranteed, they got to put a little slack in you, see if you can lose that. And here's what they do. They ask everybody, it's called the moment of truth. What did you do before you came into boot camp that was wrong? Now, my recruiter was really good. He goes, as we were driving to the airport, he goes, they're going to do this thing called the moment of truth. Right now, Noda, right now, this guy, right now, this is your moment of truth. Tell me everything you want to get off your chest right now that you did that might be whatever. Well, I'll be straight up with you. When he was asking me during the information about, hey, did you smoke marijuana? I straight up lied to him. Nope. He's like, come on, dude. And my cousin's like, oh, he's all baked. He's like, how about you? Nope. Because I knew that was sabotage behavior. I knew that was just stuff that I was doing to stop my brain. Has nothing to do with who I was as a person. So I didn't want that to walk around and carry that with me because I'm not that guy. I'm not like, hey, dude, I'm total stoner, man. So it was something that I didn't want to represent me. So when I was in Miami, before I went, I decided, my cousin Danny goes, dude, you don't like Coke. Why don't you do some Coke with us? And I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to the Marine Corps. Coke doesn't do anything. I do a bump. And again, just like that story with Ritalin, guess what happens? Coke to me makes me like I'm on Ritalin. Do nothing. So it wasn't my thing. So as my recruiter asked me, okay, you guys, I tell him I did some Coke. I screwed a whole bunch of women. He goes, you feel better? Great. So literally, we go to boot camp. I'm sitting there during the moment of truth. Me and that other kid, the only last two, are sitting there. What? And they're yelling, we know you're drug addicts. You're from Chicago. You're doing... Wasn't me. Well, I thought I was still guaranteed my contract. I thought I was all this. Well, Transberg, go figure. I remember the guy's name. That's how impactful he was in my life. Put me in as open contract. So I wasn't guaranteed really any job. All right, which was okay and dumb on my part, because I should have made sure I signed the docs. Well, as an open contract, during boot camp, I am treated like a chef because that's what I said. The day you get to become and called a Marine the first time, they tell you your job. So that day, you'll figure out what your purpose is in the Marine Corps. Up until that point, you're a shower shoe. You're talking to third person. You're not even a Marine up until then. I've worked up as a squad leader. I've been a squad leader. I've been a platoon sergeant. I come back and forth. I've been fired. I've been this. So that day, I'm not a platoon sergeant. I am literally this Marine who's just the hardest dude in the unit. Me and two other guys, his name was Sarge, go figure, were the two guys. You gotta get hard like Noda. This guy is this. I was a guy at that point running back and forth in the battalions with the radio on my back. Sarge would be the other guy. So not only did I have my full pack on my pack, going up Mount Mother Hubbard is what you do back in the Marine Corps, I had a radio on my back. So as I was doing that, my drill instructor who was giving us our jobs going, Noda, you're not a pansy. You're not a pastry this. And I'm telling you, they told me all those words when I was a Marine. They go, you're a real Marine. You're a radio operator. You have the life expectancy of 5 seconds. Hoorah. And I didn't even know what that was. But God, I got to tell you, it was the best thing Transberg ever did. Because here's what I'll tell you, Doc. What the Marine Corps experience allowed me to do is appreciate what's here. So all that stuff, that self-medication, all that stuff I did made me a great Marine. Because now I go to Japan, Kuwait, I go to Somalia, Norway, I go to Korea, I go back to Japan again. I do a Westpac. I go literally train with Recon. I train with 1st Lad Battalion, 5th Battalion, 11 Marines. Because my personality was to get the best experience possible. There's a term called Victor units. Victor units are combat units. I was in every combat unit for about 3.4 years of my life. I'm on a ship. They hand me re-enlistment papers. I'm like, what is this? They're like, no, in order to be on this ship, you've got to re-enlist. I go, you are funny. I said, I've got 3 months left, and the minute I'm done, I'm out. They're like, it doesn't work like that. You've got to be, if you're not going to stay in, you got to be desensitized. You got to be, they used to call it reacquired to, we got to bring you back to the world. Mm-hmm. That didn't really happen to me. Next thing I know, I get shipped back to a headquarters battalion, which was so far in the rear with the gear, all right, that within that 3 months, they go, oh, this should make Rick a little bit less of a war dog. Well, just like I said in the beginning of this thing, what do Marines do before you're a Marine? Make your environment conducive to you. So even though I was in a headquarter element, I made that unit seem like a Victor unit because that's what I was comfortable with. So what's kind of nice about that, Doc, is that as I make that thing the best unit ever, here's what I also do. I also start to train athletes, and this is where the fitness starts to come in. Because the minute we get there, I've got my first experience with women Marines. Now, women Marines wear the title just like we do, but what they had lost was the mindset that they were Marines. And the minute we started physical training, they would fall back, only because they said, I'm a woman. And I go, I don't know what that means. You are a Marine. So as a Marine would go through, I would train the Marines and, God forbid, any male Marine that fell out. So I considered myself a sledgehammer amongst hammers because I'm training Marines and I got them to be better. So what was nice was in less than 1 month, the comp platoon that would fall back, that had WMs that everyone laughed at, was the War Dog platoon. The platoon that everybody wanted to set the standard to and mirror, because not one of our people fell out. And one time, I remember I twisted my ankle, and I literally, one of the reasons through physical therapy, I couldn't spread my toes, is because I went on a battalion run, a 12-mile battalion run, with my ankle the size of a grapefruit. And I zipped it up, and I led that run the entire time. And I'm going to tell you, little tears come out my eye, because the pain was so excruciating. But I led by example because we were the comp platoon and we set the standard. Now that fitness carried on, because as I had lunch the other day with my buddy Moses, who is my foreign observer, he said, Rick, with you, I was in the best shape ever when I trained with you. So that goes back to credit to my mom. My mom is the mentor because, dude, a lot of people aren't doing jumping jacks when they're 5 years old. They're not having that experience. So during that line, I have a huge amounts of experience as this. So now what do you do when you get out the military? Well, I know I'm not getting out, or I'm going to stay in. I talked to my old man, who's still a good, sort of mentor for regardless. And he goes, you know what? I'm an insurance guy, but there's this new thing called mortgage subprime lending that's coming out. And there's this, he goes, I'm kind of getting into it, see what you can do. Well,
what year is this about now?
So now it's 1994, almost 1995, because I got out in 1995 in April. Okay. So it's Saddam Hussein brings his troops back to the forefront. I'm fighting fires in Camp Pendleton from this. I'm in an advanced party, getting ready to... advanced party means if a war goes out, I go out even before war is declared. So I get out there to set up everything so that when the actual war happens, it actually comes through. So we're getting ready because this happens. I'm during the era of Bill Clinton, where I'm a police officer who can't fire back. So it was very, very frustrating for me and everybody in my era. And I go to Bank of America on base and I say, hey, I know you can't pay me because my schedule is just the way it is. Do you mind if I intern so I sit with your loan officers and see what they're doing? Guy goes, okay, whatever that means, sure. So when I'm not deployed, or if I'm not doing something, remember I'm in a headquarters unit now. I'm not around the world anymore. I'm basically in Camp Pendleton. Yep. So I spend some time and I come back out. I get out of the military in 1995. I go to my father's office right in Chicago. I go back to Chicago. I've been married. I get married literally the same way my life is. I get married. Introduce my family to my wife. Like, surprise, here's my wife. They're like, what? Like, you're married? I'm like, yeah, I'm married. Been married for a year now. You didn't tell us? I go, well, it just didn't happen. So as I come back, I live with my parents for about a week, because they suck. They're their parents. Everybody knows. And I go to my dad's office. So my dad's office is right in gangland of where we grew up. Straight up, you're scrubbing blood off the concrete because the Ashland Vikings and the Vice Lords had a shootout the night before. Bullet shots still in the windows there. My dad is doing loans, and he's doing them back then in 1994, 95. You use a typewriter, Doc, to type loans.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And we use a dot-mate printer. So a dot-mate printer means we would use a yellow screen with a computer, and you'd put in this, and you would send the request via, back then was an analog line, and 3 or 4 days later, all of a sudden your printer would go ka-ching, 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 and you have someone's credit report. You would then review their credit, type out 3 or 4 packages, send them to the lender, hurry up and wait, that's when you get your loan. So in the Marine Corps, I use the internet a lot. I use GPS tracking. I use the current cell phone system, stuff that you use in your smartphone. I used it in 1991 to track and send call for fire duties. I was text messaging from a call center in 92 as we were putting rounds down range and communicating for hundreds of miles while guys were in Mount Fuji and we were in Japan. So I understood. So I go to my old man. I go, hey, Pete, why don't we get a cable line here and start using automated underwriting and start to use all this stuff? Well, I start to hire some people. I start to create some troops. I start to build the practice. And my father had chaos, and I brought organized chaos to it. Now, I took some of the things I learned from Bank of America. I took some of the leadership traits I learned from the Marine Corps. And 2 years later, it was about a year and a half, the underwriter from one of the mortgage companies comes out and says, I had to come down, and what he was mean to the ghetto. Like, he had to come down to the hood to see how is it possible, and he was trying to say, how is it possible that this small company in this ghetto-ass neighborhood is closing 15 loans? And he looked around, and where I had the internet, I called it the fishbowl, because we had put it there, and I would literally have everybody would sit there as the analog. I go, don't worry, here it goes. This is how we're going to do, and we're going to type it out. And, Mr. Rick, podemos hacer eso. Can I get your help on the internet? Okay, está bien. I'll go to the fishbowl. We'll work it out. I got my credit report. And just like my troops, we had morning roll call. We talked about the mission, we would talk about SMEAC, what your job mission was, what things can cause you not to do that mission. So all the traits as a manager and a leader in the Marine Corps, I implemented them into the business. So the guys come down, they see how we're in the mortgage business. My old man is feeling great. Everything's going well. But then my dad's ego starts to go. My brother's now working with us. And he's also Marine, but he went reservist. So it's like both of us, him and I are jiving, working really well because we understand how it is. And my old man starts to feel with no purpose. Mm-hmm. So what does he start to do? Start to do what anybody does in any corporate America. Starts to sabotage me. My own dad starts to sabotaging some of the things I do. And what it means is this, undermining my authority. So if I told you, Doc, that you showed up 5 minutes late, okay, and I give you a verbal warning, and then the second time I give you a written warning, and then the third time you're canned, and I can you, and then my dad hires you back.
Yikes. Wow.
Wham! Knees cut out. Because his inability to adapt and overcome, he put too much emphasis. Oh my God, what are we going to do when she leaves? I go, I don't care. I can do her job. It just slows us down just a little bit, but that's okay. I'd rather have better personnel that want to be here than this. So I'm sitting there, and, plan B, C, and D is always available for Marines. So I'm getting relationships with other account executives who are in the A market, meaning your FHA, your Federal Housing Administration, your prime loans, things that are getting what you hear now, 30-day lock. I'm learning those reps. Well, slowly, there's these like guys in really cool suits, guys driving real expensive cars. They come back in, they're like, hey, what are you doing? Oh, we're doing subprime. We're doing secondary stuff from Wall Street. Back then, Doc, if you would come in loan to value, so if you have a $100,000 loan, we would loan 75% of that. So on a $100,000 loan, I'm giving you $75,000. On a 6-month LIBOR, that's every 6 months it adjusts. The start rate was at 21%. That's what I was selling you. But back then, their choice is no loan or get in this house. So if you had 25% down, but you were a business owner and you had bad credit because of whatever, I could get you a loan. And you didn't care what the rate was because all you had to do is show the bank that you were doing well enough to then transition that into into a conventional loan. So I'm selling. So my old man starts to sabotage me. I see these guys and I go, you know what? One of my friends, Michael Vargo, goes, hey dude, I know this guy down the street. He's looking for an account executive. I tell my old man, I said, you know what? This is either what we're going to do. Either you're going to allow me to take control of the business and you just go to the radio and just be the personality. Be that Don Francisco, hey, how you doing? And come in and say hello, the host and stuff. The face. Or I'm going to have them leave. He goes, yeah, right. And I walk out the door. I'm gone. So as I leave, I call Vargo up and say, hey, I'm going to go see Keith Lewis. Now, Doc, when I tell you, I don't own a suit. I have about $40 in my account and I'm renting an apartment now and my wife is going to school and I'm not working or because I just left my job. So I literally go to the store, buy a suit that I intend to return. I keep the tags in it. I go to the interview the next day. As I'm at the interview, I'm sitting down. Now I must be soaking wet. I'm probably 23 years old. Okay. 23. If those who could see me at 48, even with a beard, I still look like I'm in my 30s. That everybody tells me that. So at 22, I look like I'm 15. All right, in a suit. All right. So I'm sitting there and I'm in my head going, what does an account executive do? What does an account executive do? And there's 2 or 3 guys that look like they're in their 30s and they're in much better suits than me and yada, yada, yada. I go, what does an account executive do? What does an account executive do? Come on, hustle and flow. There's a bagel shop downstairs. So I go downstairs and I tell him this. I go, listen, I got $20 to my name and I need to nail this job interview. Can you give me whatever $20 gives me in a bagel platter? Can you do that for me? Doc, when I tell you this guy, freaking gives me $100 platter, man. Bagels and 3 types of cream cheese. I literally have to carry it on a tray to walk upstairs. Now I've got a little swagger because now I know what to do. I knock on the door. It was a glass thing. It was really professional, nice way. Had to get buzzed in. I bully my way into what is an account exec supposed to do? Get past the gatekeeper. So I get past the gatekeeper. I'm walking in, drawing people from their desks because I'm saying, hey, I have an interview in about 10 minutes. I don't know who's going to interview me, so I don't want that person to be hungry. So I'm like coming in. Pam walks in.
Genius.
Yeah, Pam walks in and says, who are you? I go, hi, my name is Rick. I'm going to be interviewing, but you look like a toasted, low fat, maybe a little bit of butter bagel. She goes, oh my God, you nailed it to the T. So I prepare the bagel and all this stuff. They go, hey, you know what? Since you're here, why don't you come on in?
Yeah.
You guys, they never saw the other 2 guys. Because literally I'm in the interview. I see Keith Lewis. I've got Pam. I've got Bill Rothschild sitting right there. And he goes, send the other 2 guys home. We got our guy. So I'm working for a small company, Smith Rothschild Financials, downtown Chicago, LaSalle. I'm thinking I'm this. The guy tells me, just like this, I go from making $22,000 a year. He goes, okay, we're going to pay you $5 on a draw. Now, what do you think 5 means?
I have no idea.
$5 an hour?
50.
$5. It's $5,000 a month. So the guy goes to me, goes, yeah, I'm going to pay you $5 on a draw. So I'm like, I go home to my wife. They're like, she goes, what are you doing? I go, I'm getting paid $500 a month for nothing. Like they're doing, and she's like, really? Well, day 3, I found out that's $5,000. I was like, oh snap, like hustle and flow, like chicka, let's do it. So Keith goes to me. Now, Keith Lewis is the most racist guy you ever see. He uses the N-word, S-word all the time. This is literally, and during those times, again, I was selling 21%. We would redline because we would go, subprime went where no one wanted to go. We were in the Latino neighborhoods. We were in the black neighborhoods. We were in the Asian neighborhoods where crime was high and no one wanted to buy a loan. And it was like, F you, this is what you're getting. 21%, here's what you're paying. Board ups in the area, gangs in the area. So Keith Lewis would really underwrite your loan depending on your last name and how whatever ethnicity was. And I've seen 28%, 37% on guys. But I don't care about racist guys. I learned from them. So I learned what he knew about loans. The lenders would come in where we would sell directly to the money store, Morgan Stanley. We would sell directly our flow purchases, and I learned everything from Keith Lewis. Now, as Keith Lewis would tell me, he'd call me Corporal Noda, what are you doing? And he would put the phone book in front of my face every other day and say, you better pound those phones and do what you got to do. Well, remember my friend Mike Vargo from this long story? He goes to me, he goes, are you ready? I go, what do you mean? He goes, I was priming you just so that you can work with Keith, so you can come over to me to work with me at this company called New Century. Well, it was funny because Vargo was so wishy-washy in a funny way. He was that guy who was always looking for the next company. All right, he was what we call a hopper. Yep. All right, so as I interview at New Century, they hire me, but not Vargo. All right, and it wasn't even an interview. It's at that point, Doc. You know how those go. It's kind of like, well, I heard you close, $1 million a month over there. What do you want? Like, what do you need? Like, what can I make your job better? So at New Century, at that point in Chicago, they had 5 reps, meaning I would be the 5th rep. Mm-hmm. So we had closed maximum at the time with all 4 reps. They had closed about $5 to $6 million a month, including all of those. Their goals were to get us to do, anywhere from 15, 20, 30, or 40,000 a month in those regions. So my friend Anna and everybody I met, I start to hire with them. Vargo goes to work for a competitor called Option One. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So as Option One, as he works with Option One, it's really kind of nice because he's my friend. So as we're working in buildings, we're doing a stick. Because they think we're against each other. And actually, we had decided walking into the door, dude, I'm going to deal with this guy. You deal with this guy. This is how much I'm going to undercut you. This is how much you're going to undercut you. Do. Afro Circus is what we did. And it was great because we got a lot of loans out of it. So as I start to get really good, remember that really good at it, my loans I start to close more and more. Here's the funny thing, Doc. People ask me all the time about ADHD and hyperness and all of that stuff, and what does it help with? It helps once you have purpose. And if you have purpose, it could drive you anywhere. Now, I'm 24, 25 years old, making 15 grand a month, saving just pretty much as I could. Because when you're 20, I was making it rain. I bought new cars. I bought everything because to me, I was already told that by 65, I wasn't going to see my retirement money. So why think about retirement when I can live it right now? So I did all the trips, did everything you did. You ask it, I've done it in a good way. I've rented out an entire restaurant to literally Pretty Women, my wife. I bought a plane ticket so we go to the Metropolitan Opera, and a limousine picked her up, and I flew her there, and we went to the Met. I mean, just all of that cool stuff. Because I didn't think it was going to go away. I just wanted to enjoy the journey. Well, remember, drinking doesn't stop.
Okay, the whole time.
Yeah, drinking doesn't stop.
Okay.
Anger issues are still there. But I am now in a place where they love it. They love it. I'm fueling that fury, that ADHD, that bipolarness, that ability to drive as a Marine is looked at. That jerk dog that I didn't like to be in high school, the kid that was a court jester, I'm full-blown court jester, making 30, 40 grand a month, and just totally blinded that I'm still a court jester because I'm making 40 grand a month and spending money like it's going out of style and saving it too. I now have 3 or 4 houses. I'm now doing developments. I'm doing blueprinting, which is you're a contractor. You tell me you want to build something. I give you 4 or 5 grand. I'm automatically in at cost. So I'm really doing groundbreaking stuff, which was awesome. But you know what? I had to make at one point $30,000 a month to save, to pay for my houses, put my retirement savings down, put my college money for my kids, all of that stuff. And I want you to know I hadn't even hit 30. So by the time I hit 30 years old, all right, from 30 to 37, I'm that candle's burning really hot. I'm starting to drink more and things are happening. Now, 35 years old, I'm 28 and have my first daughter, Michaela. Lovely daughter, changes a little perspective in me in a way, meaning now that when I play softball and do stuff like that, I actually just take her with me. I start a little thing called running Ironman or triathlons. I specialize in short courses. What does that do? Just perpetuates my ADD. It gets me another distraction so that I'm not doing things. My wife tells me after Michaela, she's pregnant again. It's awesome. Like, I'm feeling great. I'm like, yeah, it is great. You know, we do everything. We go to the hospital at 35 weeks. Brian, the physician, goes to me, goes, man, we're ready. We're on that home. We're in the home thing. We're at the 20-yard line, ready to go. You're 2 centimeters dilated. We go home on Friday. Friday afternoon, goes, you know what, Rick, I haven't felt the baby move. Words that haunt me to this day. Don't worry, honey. We're just at the doctor. Everything is all right. Stillborn later, and Sunday dies. My wife has a stillborn. Tatiana is born on Sunday, and I am completely fucking shelved.
Wow.
So I'm in the hospital room. The nurse and doctor goes to me and says she has to give birth to this, and I say, cut the fucking thing out of her. They go, what? I go, the trauma that she's going to have to do to give birth to a dead baby? I said, do whatever you can so her to feel zero pain. I'm not a medical professional. I'm an elite triathlete at this point. I'm an alcoholic. I'm making FU money. So to me, I can do whatever I want and write the check for it. I don't even care. They do an epidural. She gives birth to the baby. She's asleep. The nurse cuts the umbilical cord, starts to wrap it up, and the freaking audacity of that nurse. It was a bloody, disgusting baby and was going to present that to my wife. I said, whoa. I took the baby, washed her face and Tatiana's face, then cleaned her up so she looked like a baby. not a zombie apocalypse that just came out. Handed that to my wife, and for 2 days we stayed in the hospital with a dead baby. So you want to talk about yippee-ki-yay? You want to self-medicate? Hell yeah. You want to talk about racing Ironman full blown right there? That was my entire life. Vodka, riding my bike away from all of that drama. Now, here's the beautiful part of it. I work so effing hard in the mortgage business as an account executive, all right? My last paycheck before this happened was $625,000 for the year. The next year, I make $180,000. What do you think my boss is thinking during that time?
A few things.
Yeah. So I am so volatile. No one freaking asks me what's going on.
Yeah.
They don't want to ask me, but they say 30 grand, 8 grand. 45,000 before, 9 grand. I'm still closing loans. Top 3 guy can't even make the top 100. Literally a full calendar year goes by. January comes up. I walk into Doc. I walk into Dan Blocker's office, and I go, "He's back." He goes, "Really? Like the Ironman of Loans is back?" I'm like, and that's what I'd coned myself a few years ago, was the Ironman of Loans, because if you work with me, you'll be the Ironman, all right? I go from $185,000 to $750,000 that year, $895 the year next, all right? Because literally I got off my ass and literally started to work again. And I was still angry, but I had literally just drank myself to death. And I had literally just couldn't do it anymore, So I was like, my family's starting to do, they're starting to feel it. And, I had the conversation with my wife. I'm not having any more kids. Well, as luck have it, I start to produce, as I was just saying. Mm-hmm. Then my wifey comes up to me. We're pregnant again. I said, "How does that happen? Isn't that funny? How does that happen?" But it does. And we give birth to, I consider, the second love baby. I'm one of the few guys that have 2 love babies. Gotcha. The first one and the second one. So I call Callie because I love California. We have, she's incredible. She's awesome. She gives me even more perspective. I start to reduce a little bit of my drinking because now I have to delegate my time a little bit more and blah, 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 blah. I'm still a hard-blooded alcoholic. Just drinking is hard, but to me, I felt like I was doing less. And then I start to look at the pictures. At this time, I look at the subprime market, what it's happening, what's going on. And I know that when my bosses are starting to tell you, "Don't worry, ride the wave. Don't worry, do this." Remember, I was in the Marine Corps when they said that. And, "Don't worry, it's okay. Your buddies can get shot. You can't fire." I'm like, "Oh, that ain't happening." So when guys get complacent, it's time for me to move on. Or shake the trees and "Hey, you guys, either we get back to the standard or not." So I'm looking at the cursor. Unemployment's at about an 8. So I leave the wholesale side. And remember, wholesale is I'm Nike providing Nike shoes to Dick's Sporting Goods. That's what I do. And you go to Dick's to buy Nikes. So now I go to Dick's and I'm work at Dick's selling you Nike shoes. So now I'm in the retail side of it. I just want you to know I'm a wholesale guy, not a retail guy. Okay. When it comes to that, literally I'm much more successful selling you, the business owner, than I am selling the other guys. But I take over one of my friends. He helps me. He goes, "Hey, dude, I need some help. Come on in." So I take over one of his locations in North Avenue. And it's a beautiful place. I love it. I do retail. We go back in 2007. So now 2007. So 1995, all the mortgage business, triathlons, running theirs. Y2K happens. So in 2007, the unemployment's at 8. All right. We're in a bullish market. Yeah, everything's great. Love it. Life is great. I remember back in the early days was already selling to Wall Street. So I knew what we were selling to Wall Street, even back then at the 6-month LIBORs. When I was with New Century, I was selling to Wall Street, Bears and Stern, Solomon Brothers, and all these guys. So I knew the toxicity of the loans that were there. So not only did I see that along with what unemployment was going to do, so that I knew that was going to be super volatile. So as I'm in the retail side, I see unemployment rising, and we all know what happened in September. We went to black. We hit those numbers where the Dow crashed because the numbers came out to 10. Boom! So the Dow crashes. Now on the retail side, I can't even lend, and the wholesalers can't lend. Appraisers are losing money. The bubble really popped first in 2005, but it really hit the fan when the Dow crashed. Yeah. When the Dow crashed. At this point, I'm already over it. I notice what happened. Once that happens, I literally go to one of my buddies and then they go, what are you going to do, Noda? I go, boom, I'm out. They're like, what? Like, dude, you're out. So literally, Doc, I circle the wagons. I take my family, because we're moving on up to the east side. I literally take my family to move in with my mother-in-law, to literally file a big-ass Chapter 7, lose everything. My savings, my 401ks, all of that gone. $400,000, $800,000 in that. In 1039 exchanges for my kids. Huge amounts of money just lost. And I didn't care. Because you know what? The pressure to make 30 grand a month was killing me. So I literally go live in my mother-in-law, go on welfare and go work at Starbucks. So I'm a barista at Starbucks. My buddy from Orange County comes down because he can't believe the top 3 guy in the country is working in Starbucks. He comes in to me wearing a presidential Rolex, with a $100,000 car in the parking lot. He goes, I had to see Rick Noda working a barista. And I'm like, I'm making happy as hell. Because you know what? I ain't got to make 30 grand. So literally, I'm sitting there and I do that. I do that for about 6 months, all right? And I really get my life back, all right? So as I get my life back, the only thing that's not coming back is my body. Because all those years of racing, all those years of alcoholism, I'm still drinking, but now I'm not racing anymore because I'm not sponsored anymore. Lost my sponsorship. I don't have bikes given to me anymore. So literally my purpose or my outlet to keep my alcoholism a little in check is gone. So I'm way clinically depressed. I've lost all my wealth, and I'm, in a funny way, I am saved because I am working towards the new beginning, but it sucks. $8 an hour from $30,000 a month, a little different, no?
Life change for sure.
So I'm sitting there at home, and I see an Ironman video, and I see the guy come across and it says American Interbank, and I Google it. The guy's in California in Irvine. Call the guy up. His name is Mike. He actually looks me up in Ironman and hires me that way. So literally, I drive my bike because I still have one team bike. I'm in Oceanside, and I ride my bike to Irvine, which is about 45 miles. I go ride with him, and he gives me the job. So remember what we talked about? Hey, what do you need to live? He goes, yeah, I'll start you in 10. Now I know what that means. So I'm like, no, 10 grand is not a month is what I want. I'm okay with 5. I go from $8 an hour to 5 grand again. I'm leaving Starbucks, and the lady goes, well, why are you leaving? I go, well, I'm kind of, this is kind of like a leap, like a thing. She goes, well, what are you doing? I go, well, I'm going back into, to what I used to do. She goes, well, are they paying you more? She goes, I can raise your, I can raise your hourly. I'm like, I know you can. But I know you can't pay me 5 grand a month. She didn't believe that. I go, yeah. I mean, I'm sorry I turned down 10. And I go, did you think my Rolex was fake? And it walked out. And and so I'm there with Mike. Really, I'm his training buddy, brother. That's him and I. He does corporate Ironmans or corporate long distance and short distance. I was an elite sponsored athlete, so I never did that. I just went to races that I would go. So I was training with them, and I'm on a headset selling loans. Doc, when I tell you that lasted about 4 or 5 months, and then one guy just set me off. I wasn't, it was a recession. No one was buying anything. It was probably the worst time ever. He put me on a salary, with 5 grand a month and stuff like that, and I snap. I do a Dennis Leary rant on a guy. Like literally, like how much simpler can this be? A monkey can do this. I'm like literally, it's 75% loan to value, brother. I'm offering you a 2.5%, a flat fee of $900. There's nothing here. There's no smoke and mirrors. What is your problem? And the guy goes, you're my problem. I go, then you know what? Your problem because you're an idiot. Because at $999 for this fee for a $500,000 loan, you can go find a thing and And Mike was listening to those conversations. He goes, Rick. I go, you're right. He goes, go cool off. Well, I go cool off, and I'm driving, and I see a billboard here that says, hey, looking to change your life? Think about nursing. Well, I had tried to become a fireman, all right, and failed because of my Ironman experience. So one of the board members on LAPD or LA Fire had told me, goes, hey man, you're 37 years old, but for every Ironman you did, add 5 years to your life, and you told me you did about 12 or 15 in your career, and dude, you're 37, but you're 97 degrees, and he was right, 97 years old, and he was right. Back was hurting, knees are shot, all that stuff. So I go in, I'm like, hey, I'd love to see what this nursing thing's about. I take an entrance exam, the lady won't let me leave, just like the boot camp guy. She's like, people normally fail that test. You passed it. I fast forward. I signed up for nursing school. I come home to I go to my job. I go, Mike, I signed up for nursing school. He goes, you know the drill. Yeah, I'm fired. I know. Grab my box, pack my pack my stuff. You know, like the security guard walks you out, all that stuff, so you don't steal anything. And then I go home. Now I still have one more shipment, and still my stuff is in Chicago, so I have to bring one more U-Haul of stuff. So I grab my wife. We fly back to Chicago. We grab the U-Haul. We're driving back. And I'm telling, hey, I'm going to go to nursing school, but I know you're going to school because you're going to be a pharmacist and da-da-da-da-da. Rick, that pharmacy thing, not as close as you think. Well, my loving wife loved me so much that when she was going to school, she actually never went to class. She just kind of like sat in the quad, doodled about how much she loved me, and was nowhere near close to an associate's degree or any towards her internship of being a pharmacist. My entire world just kind of goes again. So as we arrived, as I'm driving, we literally drive up to Merrick College in the U-Haul. I walk in because I'd already signed up in Orange County to go to school, and we live in Oceanside. So I'm like, you know what? I can't have my wife go to the same school as me because I'm going to be distracted being my wife. Let's go two separate places. My wife doesn't want to be a nurse, you guys. She does not. I've literally said, this is what you're going to do. You did it your way? Wham. Here's the path. This is what we're going to do. We drive into Merrick in the U-Haul. We literally drive there, because we're going to go to Merrick and then go to the storage facility and then, return the truck. There's a staff sergeant that was a Marine that was there, and he's like showing her the pamphlet. I'm like, hey, staff sergeant, you're misunderstanding me. Just let's start signing. We're literally enrolling whenever your next class is. I just drove from Chicago, 2,500 miles. It's a done deal. She signs. She goes to this. She hates me. She thinks I'm a jerk. Yada, yada, yada. We go to school. I'm driving to Orange County. Doc, I'm collecting cans to give me gas money because the welfare money isn't paying enough. The lady in the welfare department tells me, Mr. Minotta, you don't spend the money fast enough. If you don't spend the money fast enough in your welfare account, they're gonna draw your benefits back. I go, what? I go, I'm a financial guy. I'm just trying to nope, that's not what they want. They want you to take your money on the first, spend it by the second to make it look like you're pinned. What? I'm like, so no perpetuate. I thought I could carry some more. Nope. If you carry any over, they're going to start to reduce your benefits. So now I have to spend completely different than I'm used to. So I'm literally being frivolous with this money, with the going to the grocery store. I'm literally trying to buy you stuff, Doc. I'm like, hey, dude, you want to go to groceries? I can't spend $750 a month on a family of 4 in groceries. How about if you come with me and literally you pay me $150? I'd buy it on welfare and you give me $150 so I could get gas money. So I can drive back and forth to nursing school. Now, my nursing school is in Orange County. That's 45 miles from where we're at, you guys. So imagine if I started at 6 a.m. So I had to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to do this. Never late. Never late for school. Also use it a way to study. So as I'm in school, I'm doing this. My wife's in school and all this stuff. Doing great up to a point because I'm studying and doing whatever. They make me the class president. I don't want to be the class president. The only reason they made me the class president was the first day of class. We have an hour lunch. So what do? I'm a triathlete. So I grab my lunch, I put it on my desk, I go run for 30 minutes. I come back, eating my, change back into my scrubs. They go, what did you do? I go, I ran at lunch so that we could be focused on what we're doing here. Hey, the next thing is, we're making that guy's the class president. And they made me the class president just because I ran at lunch. So we get to the second semester, we get to the endocrinologic system, and you can't fail one test. I bomb a test. So I retake the test. I fail it again. They drop you. I'm the freaking class president getting dropped.
Probably doesn't feel good.
Well, you know what it does? It shows me that I was putting my energy in the wrong direction. I was trying to learn and try to do things the wrong way. I had to modify the way I learned. It was a whole new world for me. So I started to use rap songs and things like that so I can learn how I learn things. So instead of sitting there and try to study, I'd get on my bike and listen to a recording of what the lecture was. So I could start to, because I learned more with movement, I would do certain things that were limericks and things like that so I could remember. So when I got back to school, I was able to pick up, and again, they made me the class president, and even the second one I did, they go, hey, we heard you're the class president. This guy sucks. You're a president again. So I get back to the endocrinologic system. I do well. I graduate. My wife graduated a few weeks before me because I got held back. I dropped. So she takes the ASVAB or the NCLEX, passes her nurse's test. I'm 2 or 3 months later, pass my nurse's test also. And just what I think is kind of cool, in the state of California, you got to pass with an 85. Highest standard in all states for that. All right, so that my reciprocity with that is I can use it anywhere as a nurse. So I'm still living with my mother-in-law. I'm still on welfare. I'm now a nurse. Now I tell my wife, what we're not going to do is go get bad jobs. So my wife wants to work in dermatology. She becomes a nurse at Dermatologist Medical Group. She works there. I find a nice doctor in Encinitas who's never owned a practice, who's leaving Kaiser, and he's in primary care. Yep. So what I want to do is this, is as I'm working with him, is I work with him and I literally, you guys, get the experience that I need in 2 ways. One, I build his business because he has nobody, so he weighs on me for that because I help him market his business properly. Number 2, he shows me and gives me the empowerment to not only be a nurse, but actually act like a physician assistant. And I earned that because of the way I worked and asked him questions and do this. So he's seeing patients and I'm seeing patients. So in less than 2 years, we go from 0 to 500 patients. We make $100,000 a month in billing because we're doing IV therapy and we're really doing good stuff. So, but here's what I will tell you. What I hate about the medical community was exactly this. We weren't doing the bedside manner. We weren't being good humans. I was a Marine and I was a financial planner with that mentality. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're going to come in here, I'm just going to do good things and good things happen. Mm-hmm. So you know what I do? I go, Doc, do you mind if I start a workout group in the back? He goes, are you qualified for that? I laugh. Yeah. I laugh in his face because he doesn't know literally that I was an elite triathlete. He has no idea about that. He has no idea because I took it off my resume, because when you tell someone you made $800,000 a year, you know the first thing they say? Can I have that job? Why did you leave?
Or you're overqualified.
Yeah, or you're overqualified. So what I end up doing is this. I end up doing that workout as a free adjunct. Some guy eventually hands me $10. And then another person hands me $10. And eventually, on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I'm working at my job full time. I'm working at another job as a knock nurse, and I'm running a workout group out the back. Now, Doc, we are in 2019, right? That was in 2007. So in 2012, I moved out of the parking lot into brick and mortars. Today, I'm in 4 countries. I have a podcast. I currently train locally another 25 athletes. I'm a level 1 USA training coach, and I'm currently now training Ironman to get better, brother. So I coined the phrase, our motivation inspires you to be better. But really, what does that mean? Is over the last 5 years, dude, I really tried to heal myself through my life experiences to just offer some relaxation to my brain. Remember, it started with my brain, right? Mm-hmm. I've learned now how to use therapies from physical therapists like yourself, how to use meditation, how to use all of this stuff to really enjoy life. And what's so nice about this is now I can actually tell people what are my favorite restaurants. Like, for example, in Carlsbad, one of my favorite restaurants is Cava. But tell me 10 years ago, I couldn't even tell you what city I was in. And God forbid even what restaurant to eat at. Now, here's the thing. You want to talk about fun? At a long point in my life, fun was just my daily life. But you know what I enjoy to do fun right now? Spend time with my kids doing nothing.
Sounds pretty wonderful.
And I'll tell you, Doc, what's so nice about all of that is that, you know what? It wasn't easy. It was hard, and I failed often. But the nice part about it is this cliche. If it doesn't kill you, it makes you better. Mm-hmm. I should have died a bunch of times, man. But what's nice is it has allowed me to get that much better. So it's a long-winded 40-minute discussion that we had here, you know. But, you know, I hope people out there try not to do what I do sometimes.
Rick, your story is incredible. Again, fitness coach, nurse, elite athlete, Marine, retired alcoholic. I love that phrase, by the way. Dad, my friend. Honestly, thank you so much for being here today. Where can people find out more about you? I mean, your story is awesome. If people want to be following you, like, where do they go to find you?
Well, you know, the nice part is, let's use Instagram. I've done a really nice job of getting to understand me a little bit through Instagram. So at T3 Body Encinitas, that's T3 Body Encinitas. That's the visual side. Take a look at the pictures. See my community and what we've done. Then go to my podcast that I have at YouTube, and that YouTube is T3 Talks. If you just look up T3 Talks on YouTube, I have 75 current videos that learns the scientist and more of the intimate, empathetic side of me, where I talk about how everything is underwritten and really what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to have these same battles. And then if you like, go take a look at my website, just to kind of take a look at it. It's a static website. That's at T3bodyencinitas.com. T3bodyencinitas.com is that website. But really try that Instagram first, really get an understanding, then go to the YouTube, understand the empathy and what I really am as a scientist. And then if you really feel comfortable at that time, go ahead and sign up for one of my 25 or 30-minute motivational sessions so we get to know each other a little bit more slowly and a little bit more intimately, Doc.
Awesome. All those things are going to be in the show notes. Rick Noda, thank you again for being here today, talking with me for a little bit, and we'll talk soon. Take care.
Doc, little high five. Take some of that motivation. There you go. Thanks so much.
Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to the Stay Healthy San Diego podcast, brought to you by Parker Physio. If your pain is preventing you from staying healthy and active, and you'd like to avoid surgery, painkillers, or just want to get back to doing the things you love in and around San Diego, we offer both a free ebook and free over-the-phone consultation to help you figure out the root cause of your pain and the next best steps for resolving it. Find our ebooks online at parkerphysio.com/health-tips. There you'll find ebooks for topics such as low back pain, sciatica, shoulder pain, knee pain, and neck pain. These quick-to-read reports will provide you with expert tips, tricks, and exercises to help solve your pain from the comfort of your own home. Just visit parkerphysio.com/health-tips to download your ebook and have it delivered directly to your inbox. We also offer free, no-obligation telephone consultations with a doctor of physical therapy to residents of San Diego. Just call us at 858-900-3361 or visit us at parkerphysio.com and click the Talk to a PT on the phone button. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Stay Healthy San Diego podcast.